What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Lore Games. I'm your host, Todd Wanish, and I am the 26-year veteran of the comic and animation field. Now, I guess, an OG of the NFT space, because all it takes is to be an OG in the NFT space. Here for about 12 months or so. and getting over a cold, you're going to have to excuse me tonight. But we're going to do this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So what are we doing? What are the Lore Games? Why the heck are we here? Well, that is a very good question. So what we are doing is the Lore Games is the place for us as a community to sit and create the 30,000 foot view of the adult fantasy universe. We are creating our own version of a type of cinematic universe that you might see the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the DC Cinematic Universe. The difference being, of course, is that this is community generated. It is all of us and all of you working together, coming up with ideas and putting this into one big milestone-based universe. So this lore game is it's a game. We've set it up like a game. However, it's also a writer's room, and it's also a place for us to just kind of throw spaghetti on the wall. It's a way for us to just let our minds wander and come up with some ideas, and it allows us to play. And what ends up happening is certainly most of it is crap, but what ends up happening is that some of these things end up being gems, and then we can focus on it and expand it and let that idea take over, and we can start to form fixed points in time so that the rest of the universe can kind of wrap around it. So even as we expand outward and as more community, there's more community development and more community growth and more sort of freewheeling ideas, you still want to have those fixed points in times as guideposts so that there's an actual direction that everybody can kind of march towards. So with that said, I am going to do some quick intros. So first, right below me, right here on the screen, is Andrew. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening.
Andrew is a comic book retailer in Jacksonville, Florida. He has a retail store called Misfit Corner Comics. It's one of the best stores in the entire state. He's been a comic collector forever, and he is an accomplished independent author, independent publisher, independent graphic novelist. His books literally take up half of my shelf. I'm staring at them right now. So he knows his storytelling. He's fantastic. So welcome, Drew.
Aw.
Yes, you know I love you. And over this way, right here, we have Zach Arbella. Zach is another talented writer. Zach has written 13 novels in the Nine Sons series, and he's incredibly talented. He's also going to be, as we announced on Monday, Zach will be writing the first adult fantasy novel, which actually is what we're going to focus on tonight. So tonight is going to be a very special night. Hi, Zach. How you doing, bud?
No complaints. How are y'all doing?
Doing good. Awesome. And of course, last but never least, we have Flint.
Hello.
Flint, everyone knows Flint. Flint is co-founder of Adult Fantasy. He is responsible for basically like the way it looks, all the tech. Like, Flint is brilliant. Flint's also an avid gamer and knows his way around RPGs. And so he brings invaluable information to us as we set up all of these little goalposts. And last but not least, I will introduce the board. So this is our board. This is what we have been working on for the last several weeks with you guys. And what it is, if this is your first time looking at it, is it is a game modified on another game called Microscope. So Microscope is a world building tool that a lot of DMs can use to kind of get really good backstories and universal lore for their games. What we've done is we've modified it to include a structure that is similar to issues or seasons, episodic seasons, or all that stuff. So this you can assume this is kind of like the season 1 palette. And what we are doing is this is an app that is free online, made for Microscope. We've changed a little bit of it, of the context of a few things. But basically, periods, you can think of periods as episodes. So Blood and Metal is the first episode. The Gloam Awakens is something that we will be working on tonight. That could be episode 2, and so on, all the way down. We do not limit it. This is not so structured yet. It's not like we're saying, oh, there's 10 episodes in the season or what have you. We're really just letting our minds wander. And then what we've been doing is as we play the game, the stories get filled out. So what I will do, just to give an example, and it'll be good for all of us, because last time we ended on a brilliant note. We finished Blood and Metal. We did the story circle. The second pass, we added something called a story circle, which is the beats to a story. Think of it as a clock, and we went through all of the paces of the clock, and it turned out really good. I think we were all pleasantly surprised, which is wonderful. So what I've done is at the very end of our last episode, Andrew was like, okay, so this is what it is. Kind of read it off the top of his head, which is exactly what we had talked about. I went back, I transcribed it, put it into events. So I'm just going to read them really quick so you can kind of see how this works, this flow works. So the title of the episode would be Blood and Metal. And then I'm going to read some events, and inside of events are scenes. So a meteor lands and a creature comes out of it. A giant meteorite falls from the sky. Afterwards, for several nights, a large booming, earth-shattering howl can be heard screaming into the night. The young king needs to prove himself to his people. He rallies his banners/troops to go investigate the hunt. The king, afraid of being obsolete, tries to subdue the creature, often offers a drugged concoction meant to docile him, hoping it will kill him. Instead, the primordial reverts to a childlike form or childlike state. And then we talked about the struggle of the king. The king and queen have a sad, tense discussion about their miscarriage. He and his queen are having trouble conceiving, additional tension over potential war, maybe with a neighboring kingdom. What happens when we named the king Gilgamesh, just for story? When King Gilgamesh and his warriors go into the crater, they go into the crater, they find what seems to be like a chariot of the gods, but in reality it's a spaceship, geometry, etc. And then basically what happens is the king chooses, instead of killing the creature, to use the creature. He takes it in as an adoptive son. He gives it over to his first wife, who recently lost a child and has yet to conceive. She becomes responsible for his upbringing. Why does the king take the primordial? The king and queen's relationship is tense because they are having trouble conceiving, and a neighboring kingdom is threatening war, etc. His upbringing is very difficult, very hard. She is a ball buster. Doesn't give him any leeway whatsoever, but there is an attachment and love and caring. But there's the harsh reality. And as he grows, not only does he become this massive creature, but now he's even bigger than when he first arrived. For context, in our NFT world, in our NFT release, the primordial is this giant creature that is so big that he actually has a crown of thorns that is a city block. So he wears a city block with broken skyscrapers around his forehead as a crown of thorns. So he's a giant creature. And then in an attempt to show his dominance over the primordial, the king murders his own wife. The primordial is forced to watch. Infuriated, primordial goes on a murderous rampage, kills everyone, the army, concubines, lesser children, and villagers, except for the king, who is left in a wasteland of dead bodies and piles of rubble and blood. The primordial stands towering over the king. They both stand in a wasteland, nothing but smoldering ruins, fire, and dead bodies. The king is now the child, sad and sniveling. The primordial turns and walks away, leaving the king. They both are left with nothing. Primordial goes back to the crater to hibernate. The king is left with nothing. What the king feared most is what he gets, which is pretty dope. That's a good little story. Of course, is it done? No, we have to refine it. We have to put more beats in it to make it a full structure. But those bones are pretty solid, right? I think those were pretty strong bones. So now we're jumping into tonight's mission. Tonight's mission, we want to help Zach get some of the same kind of bones and structure for his novel. And this is centered around, how did the gloam come to be? So the gloam is this iridescent or some type of dome that encapsulates Hyper Brooklyn. And like, what is Hyper Brooklyn? Like, this is the kind of questions that we're going to play with today. So we are going to focus on the Gloam Awakens. And guys, feel free to read this. I won't read this out loud, but these are some notes that Zach had. We can, of course, change it. Nothing is sacred. Nothing is sacrosanct. We can cut. We can edit. It is all good, just like we did before. So what we should do is we should go ahead and start. Zach, you're right below me in the turn order, so you get to go ahead and start, which makes sense. You are the lens through which we look through. You get to choose the focus inside the Gloam Awakens. And if you want to give some people some context about like the great smushing and all of these kind of things, like go for it.
All right. Can you hear me? Oh,
yeah, you sound good.
Okay, good. I'm not muted. Okay, let me look at my notes. All right, so let's see. All right, well, let's go to this scene here. What happens before the primordial awakens? This scene has no description. Now, the idea I had for this scene is that in the novel there would be like before the main action starts, like a series of vignettes showing the various characters we have, a number of the characters we have in the deck, in the story, before they became the heroes / villains / lunatics that we all know and love. So for example, I would say so ideally this would start in the year 2008 in Brooklyn, New York. I picked that year because I think most of us here were actually living there at the time. Well, actually, I moved there. I moved to Brooklyn about 4 years later. But I know, Todd, you were there, and it wasn't that different. I mean, it was it was a little still a little more gritty. Williamsburg wasn't quite hadn't turned into the trust fund paradise that it is now. And hipsters were still a new thing, and not the tight pants wearing people we all love to hate. So this is what I had. I know, Todd, you took this out, but I honestly can't think of anything else. Like I said, I wrote this. I'm a little too close to it. So we move forward to the year 2008. The scene, Brooklyn, New York. A series of vignettes where we see the human-ish versions of our heroes before the Gloam descends. Carl is visiting his grandmother, who will become Beelzebubby in Bay Ridge. For those of you who are from New York, Brooklyn, that's a neighbor. It's a neighborhood along the southwestern part of it. It wasn't that far from where I used to live, actually. Then goes to a bowling alley for his weekly league game. General Arthur Hurricane Steele is meeting with someone from the Pentagon in a cafe in Dumbo. Is told that his secret unit is being disbanded, that he's being forcibly retired. They discuss the theory of alternate realities. In a loft in Gowanus, Dennis Full Metal Jackson rehearses with his punk band, the Gore-Tex, for a show at McCarran Park in Williamsburg. That's an actual place. I think back in the day they used to have. I don't know if that was the case back in 2008, but I know for a while they used to have shows at the pool there.
Oh yeah.
And I think like a band like the Gore-Tex would fit in right there. As nightfall, there's a flash of light, and something crashes into the water in Jamaica Bay. From it emerges D. Void, who has been sent on a mysterious assignment. In an apartment in Brooklyn, a cult of bored hipsters begin messing around with the occult. So that's it, really. I mean, like I said, I wrote a whole treatment on this, and rather than just start pasting stuff back in, that's where I'm going to leave it. And and because honestly, input. Your writing machine needs input.
Excellent. That can certainly be your turn. And so we will move down the turn order to Flint.
Oh boy.
So the overall concept is, okay, we have Brooklyn, and something has to happen to Brooklyn so that this Gloam overtakes Brooklyn and becomes Hyper Brooklyn, and there's this interdimensional shift that all this stuff happens. And of course, we assume right now that it is tied to the primordial coming back, basically making his reappearance. Zach has a team. He's decided to use some of the characters, some characters we actually haven't announced before, but that's okay. So other characters that we have been working with, and then moving towards like the team kind of coming together and creating this dome, and the reaction of that dome is this smushing where all these different various dimensions of Brooklyn kind of smash together. And so basically you almost have like this crazy grid of like, it gives us a really cool option for backdrops and everything like that. So
cool. So I'm thinking about these hipsters that are messing around with the occult. And what could happen there? And I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to tap into some talk to a dead relative or something, doing a seance or something. But instead of tapping into the afterlife, they reach in the wrong direction and tap into the energy of the primordial and unleash it. Something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So I'm going to, I guess, add a scene. So the question is, what happens to the hipsters? Like, what are they trying to do versus what do they accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hipsters.
And of course, just because I didn't mention it, anybody in chat, you are more than welcome to pitch in. There is no pressure to pitch in. But if you have an idea and you want to pitch it in, and sometimes you guys have really good, very funny things for us to put in, feel free to pop your ideas in and we will include them, of course.
Okay. So this is right below what happens before the primordial awakens. And it's what are the hipsters trying to achieve and what do they accomplish? The hipsters are attempting to contact an occult demon and used their power to resurrect the cute local coffee and kombucha shop on the corner that was supposed to make way for a Starbucks. In their occult ceremony, they reached for the wrong power, and instead of contacting the demon, they instead tap into the latent and immense power of the primordial. Chaos ensues.
So that's the scene. What are the hipsters trying to achieve? Awesome. Excellent. Excellent work.
You know what the scary thing is? I knew people in Brooklyn who probably would have done that exact same thing in real life.
All right. Yeah, this is true. Excellent. All right. Hey, J-Raw's here. What's up, J-Raw? How are you?
J-Raw's making fun of my typing. I have a very loud keyboard. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. No, he's got that coder keyboard.
Mm-hmm. It's
Awesome.
Clacky.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Excellent. Anything? That's your turn, Flint?
I believe so.
All right. Drew, you're up to bat.
Okay, I have an idea, but I'm not exactly sure how it fits in. It's actually kind of a two-parter. I think the first part would be the dome itself, the use of the dome. I have an idea. Let me throw it at you and see what you think. Okay, first off, the dome that gets set up, the dome that takes over the city or takes over Brooklyn or whatever, the idea that I have is that it was originally created by Stanwell, what's his name?
Perpetual,
right?
Yep.
But that it was untested and there was a lot of miscalculations in it. And the reason why there's miscalculations in it is because at the time he was creating this thing for your Sergeant Steele, whatever his name is, guy, he was going through a breakup with Pink Wasp. And once he delivered the glow dome to the general, he left to go off planet. This will bring him back in later when he's found floating above the sun or whatever it was that I wrote previously. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I had an idea about what is happening outside the dome. And let me just throw this through to you, okay? Stanwell, for some reason that we don't yet know, foresaw the coming of the primordial. And that's the reason why he was building the glow dome to begin with. Mm-hmm. But because of his personal relationship with Pink Wasp breaking up, he never completed it, never tested it, never did all the due diligence that you should do with a project this massive. So he hands it off to the Steel guy and then leaves the planet. Well, they know, maybe the Steel guy knows the reason why he was building it was that the primordial was coming. So they implement this dome to cover up this portion of the city. But what happens, because the thing is not working properly, is all the interdimensional folding on top of each other, the great smash up happens, which was never part of the plan. And it caused everything inside the dome to get all funked up, right? Mm-hmm. But my idea is what happens outside the dome is even worse. Maybe there's some type of time flux that happens. So while inside the dome, dimension upon dimension is folding in on itself and different things are being built and created on the outside of the dome, the world is aging extremely rapidly and becomes it. If you ever seen a movie in which it's post-apocalyptic, you're in the future and the world has gone to crap. The world has gone to hell. The buildings are decimated. There's no farmland. Anything you can think of is happening outside of the dome. And the reason why I'm thinking of this idea is what happens when the dome comes down and what is out there. And it's kind of like, in my mind, inside the dome, as dimensions are folding in on each other. Outside the dome, time is rapidly happening. Like every second is like 100 years worth, or every minute is like 100 years worth.
Huh.
So that when whatever happens inside the dome is finished, when the dome comes down, you have an entire planet that has completely changed.
All right.
And so my thought was to go with and just stick with the creation of the dome, why it was created, and where all that everything that got screwed up in doing so.
Okay.
But keep in mind that as everything that we're doing and building within the dome happens, the world outside is going even worse. So just keep that in the back of your mind as something that could potentially lead into more stories.
I think that's great.
Because we're focusing in on what's inside the dome and what's happening there. That's great, but outside, the world's going to complete chaos and crap.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to throw this in real quick. Do you remember in Futurama? There's a scene in Futurama where Fry goes to sleep in the cryogenic tank, and then outside the world just starts to grow, and then aliens come and blow everything up, and then it grows. That's kind of what I thought is while we're inside the dome, what we're doing is happening, but outside the whole world is going through all these different changes. So, all right, so I'm going to go back to my original idea on the reason why the glow dome was built in the first place. But just keep in the back of your mind that outside of what we're doing, the whole world's going to shit.
All right.
I like it.
All right, so I'm gonna.
I like that. I like the Stanwell Perpetual tie-in. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I was reading some of my previous notes, and at one point, Pink Wasp uses the gun at some point to go to a different. There's a rip in space, and she finds herself on the ship with him, and I described him as her ex, and I was thinking to myself, why does he go off into some far off space station? Why are they exes? And this is something that can wrap into another part of another story at a later time.
Right.
So, okay. So let me just make a note here. Let's see. Is it a scene or is it an event? I always forget how to do this.
It sounds like it's an event. I would focus on
it happens. It happens before everything. It's just a. What I want to do is just add a quick blurb about the creation of the dome. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It sounds like it's an event. Because a scene falls into an event, so you'd have to create the event anyway.
What is his name again? I'm forgetting everything.
Stanwell Perpetual?
Stanwell somehow foresees the coming of the primordial and begins work on the glow dome. I don't even know if I'm spelling this correct. You're just going to have to go and fix it later.
All right.
A device to protect a city, not just. Maybe the intent was to protect Washington, D.C. originally, but because of where the primordial starts to arise, it ends up being Brooklyn. Like, if you're going to protect any city in the U.S., which one are you going to protect?
Right.
Brooklyn's probably not top of the list.
Right.
Maybe,
You're right.
I've only been there once or twice, so.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. A device to protect a city. Let's see, this is the primordial and begins working on a glow dome, a device to protect a city from the catastrophe, which is eventually given to, what is his name? The Steel guy? I'm just going to put Steel. You know who it is.
Yeah. Hurricane Steel. You could put General Steel.
All right, General Steel. Use. It is untested and unreliable due to Stanwell's breakup with Pink Wasp while he was developing the dome. He turns it over and leaves the planet. All right, I'm just going to do that for now. You guys understand what I'm talking about. I can dig into it a little bit further later, but I think you guys understand what I'm trying to do, even though my mouth doesn't want to work properly.
Where is this posted?
I'm putting it at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Just posted.
Yeah.
There it is.
Perfect.
How did the
Stanwell-
clone come to be? Well, Stanwell's the one who somehow foresees the coming of the primordial. That can be another part of the story. How he gets the idea that the primordial is coming.
Okay.
And begins work on the glow dome, a device to protect the city from a catastrophe, which he is eventually gives to General Steele to use. It is untested and unreliable due to Stanwell's breakup with Pink Wasp. While he is developing the dome, he turns it over and leaves the planet. And then the primordial awakens, and then what happens, so forth. So, but in my mind, this is if Stanwell is like your Reed Richards type character, he's still human, which means he's affected by the things going on in his personal life. And Pink Wasp really screwed him up, and he did this job, but knew it was not going to be good. So when he handed it over to protect the city, he kind of said, "Here, good luck," and then left. Got the hell out of there.
Nice.
And you can either develop that further, or just use that as a jumping off point and move on further. But the other thing is I wanted to also focus on what's going on outside of the dome. But that's something that doesn't have to be discussed right now. But I just keep it in mind as we're going along. It could lead to further adventures.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's kind of like you plant a seed here, and you plant a seed there, and you plant a seed here, and you just focus on one thing while the rest of the stuff is still growing. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
But,
that makes sense to me, man.
All right, that's the end of my turn. Peace
out. So we're having this jump from Stanwell, and now we have like the setup, this early setup, which is pretty cool. Like he sees something, and then the primordial awakens, but we don't really talk about how the primordial awakens, and we did have. Yeah, I wonder if there is something. It kind of reminds me of the Grand Heist, where we had criminals attempt to steal a hypersonic cannon and accidentally cause a strange, unexpected rumbling in the city. But then we also had, so the way that the primordial awakens here is through possibly from the occult. They reach a wrong power, and instead of contacting a demon, they instead tap into the latent and immense power of the primordial. Chaos ensues. So it is the occult characters. So I think. And then Steele hears about the awakening primordial from Cobalt Fox. He summons a team. Dang, it sounds like we have some vignettes here, which is pretty cool, but there's not a lot of substance yet. So, interesting box. The cult reaches the Guanas and are ambushed by D Void. What happens next? Or the primordial awakens. Steele activates the dome. I'm going to say that I'm going to do a couple of small things. I'm going to say that D has actually been. I don't know. I don't know. It's so obvious if she's sent to kill the primordial. What do you guys think? I'm a little stuck. Like, I like the intro. So we got Sandwell foresees the coming. Like, he sees something, totally makes sense. He's kind of like a Reed Richards Fantastic Four kind of character. And then we have kind of like present day Brooklyn or present day being 2008 or something. Brooklyn, and then the hipsters are trying to create chaos. Or, they're trying to do an occult ritual.
It kind of hinges on what is Devoid's mission,
Yeah. I mean, my instinct was to say that she's there to kill the primordial, but that seems too obvious. Like, it seems like it should be something way wackier. I wish Avery was here tonight. He would actually be perfect for this.
Well, actually, I have an idea.
Go for it. Go for it. Brainstorm.
All right, so we can say she's here to kill the primordial, but the reason why is apparently, and this could relate to the battle world that comes on later, that apparently an intergalactic betting syndicate has placed a huge wager on when the primordial awakes, but he's waking up earlier than they want him. He's waking up earlier than they want him to. So she's been sent to kill him, so that all bets will be off, and they won't go bankrupt.
Like betting, but we don't know what they're betting on.
Yeah, basically, she was sent there to help facilitate intergalactic organized crime, and of which the primordial is essentially a side product.
That's interesting. And I like the idea that whatever happens, like the gloam going up and the interdimensional smushing, like I don't think that's supposed to happen. And I like the idea that Devoid basically fucks up, and that's why everything is the way it is, right? Like, it's not supposed to. Like, you would assume that it's not just that the gloam was done in a hastily manner and it wasn't tested. It's also that she does something at that crux point, that climactic point, that causes this interdimensional smush up, right?
What if instead of going there to kill the primordial, which the primordial is like a force of nature, it's going to happen no matter what.
Right.
What if instead of there to kill the primordial, she's there to kill some random person that because of the smush up, whatever, is going to become a huge player in the game against the primordial, and potentially changes everything. And they first, like the creation of a superhero that's going to save the day because of the smash up, and her job is to remove that player from the field before it even happens. And she still screws up and it still happens, but we don't know who it is yet. Okay. It could be some like random person that is supposed to gain powers or something.
What about a combination of both what you and Zach were suggesting, which was basically saying stop a relatively low level interstellar crime syndicate boss, right? Natasha says the word smushing makes me giggle. Yeah, the great smushing. In fact, we'll change it because we had a smush up.
I like smushing.
It is canon. It shall be done. Okay, so I had a small edit. Thanks to you guys, but I'll take that as my turn. I'm still thinking about this. So, Zach, you're up. Zach's muted.
Sorry, I had to call a nature.
Oh God, Right on.
Okay. To wrap this up. All right. Yes. So That'll work. Yeah. All right. The cult. All right. First. I'm gonna make a. All right. So I think what I'm gonna do, what I'd like to do, is clear up the great smushing. Although, so honestly, we're gonna edit this scene here. Okay. All right. What is? Let me try something else instead. What is the great smushing? All right, looking at my notes right here. Okay. Glowing dome, which, by the way, I'm going to glow dome or gloam, so I'm going to edit that. All right, so I'm going to edit this scene here. Okay, so I basically edited the battle with the primordial up top, and I moved a lot of that information down to the great smushing to give you an idea of what it is. And the idea I had was that you know how multiverses are all a thing right now. Everybody's doing them.
Yep.
So it's kind of like that that movie Everything Everywhere All the Time that just came out.
So good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. So don't spoil it.
Really good.
So what happens is basically how everyone in Brooklyn has, like their counterpart in a parallel universe, and what the Gloam does, and apparently we can say this is because Stanwell got really drunk during his breakup. There's also crisis effects due to Stanwell.
I like how alcohol has something to do with every single one of them.
It's to what to quote Homer Simpson, the creator and the resolver of all life's problems. But no, so
alcohol
the idea
is a solution.
Yeah, so the idea is that basically basically in every universe, every possible universe, everybody has a counterpart, and for most people, honestly, the counterpart's basically not that different, because if you're if you're kind of a middle of the road guy with no ambition in one universe, you'll probably be that way in another. But some people are wildly different in other universes, and what the Gloam does is that it grabs all the universes for Brooklyn, pulls them into the alternate dimension into which this Brooklyn's been shunted, and basically smushes it all together. Hence the name smushing. And so basically, people who are like only moments before were just pretty much very ordinary, are now all of a sudden, these really weird heroes, and they have these stories, they have these backstories that weren't there before in this universe, but probably were in other universes, and are now, because everything's been condensed into like one universe, are also here in this universe. And I think I've just confused myself. So, but you guys want to get what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah, totally.
All right, so that's the idea. That's the idea I had, and also that Hyper Brooklyn is actually not our Brooklyn. It's kind of like our Brooklyn was kind of that Brooklyn was duplicated, shunted off into an alternative dimension, and that's Hyper Brooklyn. And the idea we can have is that this dimension is growing, and as it grows, it pulls in other parts of the world as well, forming their own like Ultra Queens. Ultra Staten Island, God help us, Ultra New Jersey, and then maybe like Ultra Texas,
right,
or Ultra California, Ultra Brazil, And so, ideally, as time goes on, we can expand the playing field beyond Brooklyn because, and basically Steele's job is that he has control over like the only entrance in and out that he knows of. And unfortunately, that the government, being the government, doesn't want to pay for anything. Doesn't want to pay for anything more because apparently they can't make money off of this. So that's why he has to. He doesn't have much of a budget, even though it's probably the biggest secret in the world.
Right. I love it.
So that's what I got.
All right. Now is that written? Do we have that basically?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the part about the globe expanding outward isn't, but we can deal with that later, I guess.
Sure. All right. Flint, I guess you are up.
So I'm still figuring this out. So bear with me.
Yeah. Likewise.
I'm trying to work out how exactly Devoid screws up. And my thinking is that the gloam is being activated. The gloam is being activated. Part of that activation process is, some of these multiverses start kind of converging together.
Yeah.
Once it's activated, they're supposed to split off again, right?
Right.
But while it's starting up and the realities are converging, Devoid tries to kill her target. But because all these multiverses are converging, she actually kills someone from a different like it's her target, but it's from a different timeline.
Right. And that I could see how that would screw everything up.
Yeah, and like maybe that unlocks a path where unlocks a timeline where the Primordial's full power is unleashed or something. And so the process, there's a big burst of energy or something, and the process of deploying the gloam gets disrupted. And so rather than the realities converging again, they stay stuck together through that energy or something like that.
It makes perfect sense. Completely logical.
Totally. So I'm gonna attempt to write something out for that.
Yeah, that sounds.
Try to make sense of it.
Yeah.
So prepare for keyboard clacking, I guess.
Keyboard clacking. We need like a Jeopardy song that we can play. Like, jeez.
How did that sound on your end?
Like you were in a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do live in Florida, so
that's true.
And officially, hurricane season starts next month. So
nice.
Thanks for reminding me.
Well, it's not like you're on the beach or anything.
I am on the beach.
Oh, my bad.
I'm literally a 10-minute walk from the world's most famous beach, which actually is, it's Daytona Beach. So take it for what it's worth. Just think Myrtle Beach, but more drunk, and you get the idea.
Yeah, Florida's great.
Well, all us New Yorkers are moving down here.
I know,
and I'm starting to understand why people are complaining because good luck finding a place to live around here now.
Oh, I know, it's crazy.
Yep.
I can hear those fingers flying. Those Flint fingers flying. Flint fingers.
Oh, hey Todd.
Yo.
Any chance you're coming to MegaCon this year?
Maybe. In fact, I should look that up. When is MegaCon?
Next week.
Next
Then
weekend.
no. Not next week. I can't do it. I'm gonna do a couple of conventions though.
Me, Mike, and Raphael are going on Friday.
Oh, so am I.
Nice.
We already have our tickets, so.
Yeah, let's meet up.
All right, cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I can only afford to go one day this year, and honestly, at most cons, one day is about all. Because and so you always go, and I learned the hard way in New York. Always go on Fridays, because Saturday it's like basically you can't move.
Well, I know Andrew goes down there all the time, so he's super.
Well,
guy.
we haven't been to MegaCon in years, so this will be our first time in a while. So.
Are you going as an exhibitor?
Nope, just going as a fan.
Oh, Frank Miller's going to be there, and Silvestri. What? Wow.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be a big convention.
I thought Miller was dead.
No,
he's very much alive.
Oh, all right. Well,
he just looks.
no, except I heard he had some really bad health problems.
He does. Yeah, he does. I think he does. It's not public, but it's pretty obvious when you see him.
He and Dan DiDio, is that right? Started their own company called Frank Miller Productions.
Yeah.
Where they're actually going to start producing some new content of Frank Miller stuff.
That's going to be awesome.
Sin City and so forth, but also do some new stuff too.
Nice.
Yeah, I think the most recent news about that is they've got a contract with Diamond to distribute. So, all right,
That's
enough
excellent.
Comic talk. Back to
right.
this
What?
stuff.
Comic talk? Not here. No,
Never.
no, not
All
allowed.
right. I did my best to summarize that nonsense. So
Okay, where is this? Guide me.
it is right above the event known as the Great Smushing.
There we go. As the Gloam. As the Gloam begins to activate, universes begin to merge. This is part of the Gloam construction process. Once the Gloam is complete, the universes will diverge. While the Gloam is starting up, Devoid kills her target only to realize it's a version of her target from another timeline. This unlocks a new branching timeline where the full power of the Primordial is no longer contained. The surge of power disrupts the construction of the Gloam, leaving it permanently complete.
Oh, incomplete, rather.
It's permanently incomplete. The city is protected, but the universes remain merged, and Hyper Brooklyn is born. That's awesome. Awesome.
Nice.
That is awesome.
I fixed it.
Awesome.
I knew there was going to be a typo. I had a feeling.
Well, excellent work. Man, there's a ton of people going to MegaCon. It's like mega. Awesome. Good job, Flint. That sounds great. Your head is in the game more than mine is. I'm going to chalk mine up to getting over this cold.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn, Drew.
I'm getting ready to F things up.
Yeah, let's do it.
You ready? You ready for this? Unknown to everyone in Brooklyn and Hyper Brooklyn, a third Brooklyn is formed underneath the surface of the BHP, called the Under Brooklyn. Under Brooklyn is filled with nightmare monsters, demons, and more horrible creatures, and warped versions of everybody above. Slowly, these horrors start to leak out into Brooklyn and Hyper Brooklyn, and the occult hipsters think the appearance of these demons are their doing, but it's much, much bigger than that. Duh, duh, duh. Oh, I forgot the third duh. Oh, well. All right, there it is.
Duh, duh. That's pretty bad.
That's the curveball. I love it.
That's awesome.
Well, I figured I had the idea of if we're going to create multiple Brooklyns, let's create one that nobody knows is there, then fill it with demons and monsters. And then I thought, oh, wait a minute. Then we could connect it to the hipsters who think they're the ones that are making this happen. But there's actually nightmare versions of everybody right underneath everybody's feet.
Well, this makes a lot of sense because we keep on having zombies show up.
Yep. We could have it. This could be an explanation of where they're coming from, and
That's right.
Yeah.
And notice how I capitalized leak. I don't know why I did that, but I did.
Well,
The
it's
leakening.
the leakening.
The leakening.
the Great Leakening.
All right. On that note, I'm gonna go do the nature calls thing.
Oh
and
my
I'll be
god!
back.
Also the Leakening.
Everyone announces things.
Hey,
All
we're
right.
using code words here. Remember, we're on our best behavior.
That's right. That's right. All right. Awesome. That was excellent. Man, you guys are kicking ass. So
Well,
I think one of the things that I see inside of the Great Awakening, smushing, like, because the primordial awakes, but he's really not in this, right? Like, I think he doesn't. It's not like he comes out and there's a big fight and then he goes away. Like, it's too
rolling
early
over
for
in
him.
his sleep almost.
Yeah, it's too early for him to make an appearance. So there has to be a hint of things to come and a reaction to keep him asleep, possibly. So there's two things. One, there's something that has to resolve that, and there's something that has to happen in this story that is really the crux, right? Like maybe it's everyone trying to stop instead of trying to stop the primordial. It's actually everyone trying to stop D, right? Like maybe D's the bad guy, quote unquote, the bad guy for this volume, and you don't really understand that triggers the bigger events, right? So I have a couple of ideas. So the first, if you guys allow it, and if not, I can do it on a different turn. But the first is the center of Brooklyn. I guess Hyper Brooklyn. I don't know if it's Brooklyn or Hyper Brooklyn. Or Hyper Brooklyn. Begins to rise like a So this is just kind of a scene, really, more than but I'm going to have it as an event because I don't have a question for it. Excuse me. The center of Brooklyn, basically the center of the map of Brooklyn, as the gloam, they're rushing to get the gloam to be set up. The center of Brooklyn starts to rise like almost like a volcano, and we know that it's the primordial starting to bust through the surface, right? Maybe you even see a hand or something, but really kind of just like you see this giant mountain kind of grow. And then as the gloam is launched, this volcanic form kind of subsides and collapses and inverts into a newly formed miles-wide crater that now sits at the heart of Brooklyn. And so from a map view, if you were to see this as a map, you would actually see a visual representation of where the primordial actually is sleeping, right? Yeah? Anybody?
Okay.
That works.
They get?
And then the other thing, kind of, I guess, to I don't know if I'll take my turn, my previous turn.
Go for it, dude. Go for it.
Ambush Devoid, something really. So, where's Steve Void come in? She,
Right there.
right here.
Yeah, very last one. But down, very bottom. As night falls, there's a flash of light. Something crashes in the Jamaica Bay from an emergency void has been sent on a mysterious assignment.
Right. So I think so I'm gonna just put a stub. I'm just gonna say D causes havoc, and that way it'll actually allow me to change this just a little bit to say Steel hears about D
From Cobalt Fox.
from Cobalt Fox. Right? So that really she becomes the focus of this activity, and it's their calamity that actually triggers all the other stuff, right?
Yeah,
so that
yeah, just edit it again because there's another mention of the primordial down there.
oh, okay.
You also spelled devoid wrong. Sorry.
No, go for whatever. That's okay. That's all right.
Of D's weapon fire.
That's fine. That's what you can fix that. We'll just
yeah.
But basically, yeah, it's like whatever happens with this book, with the Adventure of Devoid, is really what leads to, all of the primordial stuff later on. So we want that to be sort of like the, the sequel. You know what I mean? Or maybe the third volume or whatever. Like it's kind of a build. So first we know there's something under the city. Basically, we leave the episode, the book with like this adventure, and now we know that something else is living under the city. I think is the thing that I leave with. All right, that. I'll take that as my turn. Zach, you are up.
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. What do I got here? All right. So basically, then, I guess you're right. Having the primordial here in the very beginning just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So hold on. So instead, I'm going to look at here. Steel hears about the Devoid from the Cobalt Fox. He summons his team. Okay, question. Who is this team? And by the way, guys, I noticed that with these heroes, we don't really have anything. There's no art for them anywhere, except for maybe. No, that's not. There's no art for any of these guys. Not for the Ultra Nationalist, Mongo, or any of this stuff.
There will be. Those characters are not announced.
Oh.
So we're doing a little bit of spoilers here, but that's what this group is for.
All right. So should we get rid of them then? Change them with some of the announcements?
No. You can keep them in, but there will be art. Like nobody has seen the art for that yet.
All right. So who is this team? Because Steel's outfit is considered a joke by the rest of the U.S. military-industrial complex. He's forced to go bottom feeding among the rejects, wannabes, and criminally insane in the special forces in the intelligence community. They're all basically intelligence communities. So so we'll say that they aren't the best of the best. They are the best that can be gotten. That can be gotten for the lowest possible bid. So the answer This crew is likely to cause more damage, likely to cause as much damage as the target they are hunting. Also, one other thing to remember is please note, they are not yet superheroes, but they are crazy. And steel, and not too bright, as steel won't pay them. Won't pay them in advance. All right, how's that, guys?
I think that's good.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah, I'm just because because if it's not until like the worlds collide that these guys become heroes. So, for example, like Cyberjack or the whatever he's called, the 3000 F man. We could just say that in this particular story, he's basically a moderately rich trust fund guy with a bunch of advanced tech with like a kind of a cut rate Iron Man or Batman suit that malfunctions at the time. So like when he fires like his grappling gun, he fires a flamethrower. And and basically when how when Batman jumps down the glide, basically his jetpack ignites and he basically starts he crashes through the window of a cake shop or something like that. Comes out covered in frosting. But and Steel has to put up with it because he honestly can't afford any. He basically can't afford any better.
For sure, they're kind of like the cartoon version of the Teen Titans.
Yeah,
but in real life,
they're basically like the Suicide Squad, but they're not. Except that they're not being coerced. They want to be there.
You're right. Totally.
I like it.
Yeah, I like the idea for sure.
All right, that's what I got.
Flinto.
Yes, so this one's dumb.
All right.
So I'm thinking about the Under Brooklyn and why the hipsters think it's their fault, besides the obvious timing of it coming about after them trying to, contact a demon. And so here's what I've got. So why do the hipsters think it's their fault? The Under Brooklyn and Hyper Brooklyn merge together in specific locations called hellmouths. These hotspots of demon activity tend to be found in places hipsters gather, like organic free-range coffee shops and Whole Foods stores. The result? Whole Foods is renamed to Hell Foods and is exclusively staffed by demons.
Hell Foods.
You might want to be careful with Hellmouth, though. That's like a Buffy the Vampire thing.
Yeah, I'm referencing Buffy. We probably need a better word for it, but
is it? We have something called Hellmouth, but I don't know. I mean, I think a Hellmouth is a real word, right? Whatever, it doesn't matter. For tonight's purposes, I think it's fine.
I'm also referencing Whole Foods, so
fair enough.
You mean a whole paycheck?
Yeah, a whole paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're opening one around here, I think. So that or it's Trader Joe's. Wouldn't mind Trader Joe's because I'd like to get my hands on some $2 chuck.
Awesome.
That was it. That's all I got. Just a dumb pun.
That's all right.
Dumb scene in service of a dumb pun.
That's all right. Andrew, you're up. Hell Foods. Natasha thinks Hell Foods is hilarious.
Okay, I kind of just added an event that happens after the forming of the crater in the middle of the city. but it also has to do with the hipsters, which I'm going to take them off the board just because I think they're silly, but I want it to happen in a grotesque way.
What's this?
Oh no!
Okay.
So, demons and monsters from UB, which is the Under Brooklyn, begin to merge from the crater and begin terrorizing Brooklyn and Hyper Brooklyn. The occult hipsters, standing on the top of a building and cheering their success at bringing the end of the world, get swooped down upon by flying, flaming demons who devour their faces and move on to terrorize the rest of the city.
Oh, jeez. All right. Sounds good.
I don't know. You have this marked as a dark scene, but I don't know, man.
Oh, yeah? I should change that?
That's pretty funny.
It sounds like comedy.
That's pretty funny.
All right, now it's a light scene.
There we are.
I just, in my mind, I imagine the most idiotic hipsters celebrating the end of the world and then get their faces eaten off by flying demons. It just, to me, just makes me want to smile.
Well, it's like the end of their world.
Yeah.
Basically. All right, fair enough.
Actually, what would be even funnier is if the flying demons were demonic versions of themselves.
Oh.
Did you ever see that movie?
That'd be weird.
Did you ever see that movie Scott Pilgrim and?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there's that scene with that Bollywood guy and his demon hipster chicks.
Yep.
Is that would it be something like that?
Ooh, demonic flying versions of their ex-girlfriends devour their faces. There you go.
Or what if some of them are female? The people summoning the thing.
Well, maybe then going back to just demonic versions of themselves. So.
Of their exes. Or exes, yeah.
That's pretty fun.
That's so funny.
They're caught drinking Bud Light.
At least they're hipster powers.
Yeah, that's right. Hipster powers. Oh my god. All right.
By the way, if anyone listening is a hipster, we sincerely do apologize. This is only meant in jest.
But we do want to eat your faces, so.
Yeah, we liked hipsters before it was cool.
That's true. Natasha says double demon would cancel themselves out and become extinct. Like two negatives become a positive, mostly. Double. Yeah, that's right. I like that. Let's see. So I'm gonna go into Deke causes havoc, and I'm gonna expand on that. And I'm gonna create a scene. I'm gonna say, how does D get noticed by Cobalt Fox? And it's gonna be the scene is D. I'm just gonna expand here. I'll just vamp. D's has been sent to eliminate a rather low-level rat-like underworld. It's the intergalactic underworld. Gangster. The challenge. He's a shapeshifter.
Ooh.
No problem for D. Who has the solution? He begins a violent rampage
This is where you were going.
Yeah. Well, it is. It is her personality. Steve begins of outrage through to various casinos and gambling spots, um, um, uh, using giant, exaggerated, oversized weapons
Enemy
to-
swords.
to wipe out pretty much everybody. Pretty much everyone. Uh, Cobalt happens to be at one of these locations, and I'll just leave it at that. Doing it, and then I know that's not technically a scene, but I think I'll leave it for now. How does D get noticed by Cobalt Fox? D Void has been sent to eliminate a rather low-level, rat-like intergalactic underworld gangster. The challenge: he's a shapeshifter. Not a problem for D, who has the solution. D begins a violent rampage through various casinos and gambling spots, using a giant, exaggerated, oversized weapon or weapons to wipe out pretty much everyone. Cobalt happens to be at one of these locations, and I'll say, and barely escapes with his life. How does that sound? So Willie D says
Sounds awesome.
Willie D says he's crying in his skinny jeans.
We love you, Willie D.
Yeah, that's great.
We don't mean it.
That's pretty funny. I mean, we do, but you know.
Asshole.
All right, Zach, you are up.
Okay.
Excuse me.
All right.
No.
D causes havoc. All right. Oh, this is good. I mean, I think the demons and monsters. We can end there because that could then lead on to the next comic book.
Mm-hmm.
That makes
You know,
sense.
and that will be like the hero's first great test. Deal with Under Brooklyn. All right, let me see here. Okay. All right, so first I'm going to edit this. What happens when what happens when Steel's team meets with the Void? I'm going to end that. But here's the thing that we have to think of a reason why then, Steel would feel the need to activate the Gloam. Because in the original idea was that the Gloam was activated to shield against the Primordial. Maybe what we could say is that it's activated to protect against Under Brooklyn. How does that work for you guys?
I mean, I think that works.
Actually, the activation of the dome is what causes Under Brooklyn to appear. So
Okay,
That's true.
Then
Yeah.
how about this? Then that during the firefight, the Gloam gets activated accidentally. Like D Void shoots it by mistake, or one of the team shoots it by mistake.
maybe that's the reason why it goes haywire and doesn't work properly.
Yeah, that would work. So,
Oh yeah, that could be it.
all right.
Okay.
So,
Maybe it has nothing to do with the primordial at all.
No, I think Todd was right. We don't bring in the primordial for this one because it's kind of like throwing in Galactus in the very in the very first episode, the very first issue of an intro arc. You don't want to throw your biggest gun out there. Right at the start. So let's see, a massive firefight breaks out, and during which let's say most of Bushwick and part of what borders Bushwick, by the way, Todd, do you remember?
Oh God, which part? Well, on what side?
I say the northern part, or we could just say part of Williamsburg.
Yeah, I mean, north of Bushwick is pretty much is Williamsburg, I would say.
Part of Williamsburg is devastated. Okay, and then during the fight, D shoots Sandra Wu, who will become 20-sided, and blows her head off.
Oh,
which explains why she has to have a robot head. I mean, it goes against the lore of the character, but we can change that, I guess. This in turn, this also damages the glow dome. Well, the glow dome, and activates it, creating a trans-dimensional shield around Brooklyn. The borough is thus divided in two. And thus the answer is the Great Smushioning. I think we need. Do we want to stick with that or try something else?
We can keep. I think we keep it.
I love the smooshing.
I think it's
Great
great.
Smushioning begins thanks to D's bad marksmanship. All right, so here we are. What happens when the Steel's team meets with the Void? A massive firefight breaks out, during which most of Bushwick and part of Williamsburg is devastated. During the fight, D shoots Sandra Wu 20-sided, blows her head off. This also damages the glow dome, or gloam, and activates it, creating a trans-dimensional shield around Brooklyn. The Great Smushioning begins thanks to D's bad marksmanship.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely like the marksmanship part. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Is that your turn, sir?
Yeah, I'm done.
Excellent. Flint, you're up.
Sure. So right now we're kind of moving away from the primordial really being a part of the story.
I think so.
Yeah, he's still there for the justification of why this device exists.
Yeah.
In the beginning, but it doesn't really show up otherwise. So I'm trying to figure out why Steel's team has the device with them during this shootout. And my thinking is, D Void is going through this rampage, and am I remembering correctly, Todd, that you had her rampage being in like a casino or something?
Yeah. I'm thinking that she's hitting all these weird little underworld spots and just wiping everybody out, like in almost a really cartoony kind of like almost humorous in its extremeness, you know.
Yeah. My thinking, and this is kind of silly, but maybe the safest place in the city to store a extremely dangerous device is a casino vault.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so maybe they're transporting it. Like one of the things that they're trying to do is transport it there, and then the firefight just happens.
That's interesting. I like that.
While they're there.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out exactly where that goes. Because we have some organizing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. Maybe. All right. So why? Mute so you guys don't get my keyboard noises.
I do not mind your keyboard noises.
Clack, 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 clack.
Is everyone still here?
Yep.
All right, I just I put it under basically right next to what happens when Steel's team meets with Devoid.
Let's take a look. Ah. Okay.
Okay. And what is it? It's a. Which part is that?
Right above it.
Oh, I see.
Right above where you're at. Yeah.
I see. What does Steel's team have the globe? Steel's team casino.
Like otherwise, like why would they bring this unrelated device that's super dangerous to a firefight? You know.
Right.
It's like well, they didn't know there was going to be a firefight necessarily.
Interesting. We've created some really interesting problems for ourselves in this one.
Yes, we have.
It's good.
Yeah, we branched out in a couple different directions. I think we need to figure out.
Yeah.
We'll need to tighten that up a bit.
Yeah, we'll have to take a couple passes, I think. Right on. Drew, you are up.
It is time for some of our characters to meet their demonic under Brooklyn versions of
Andrew
themselves.
just creates his own story and just kind of sticks with it.
That's right.
Yeah, I love it.
Right. Here we go.
The value of persistence.
A demonic, monstrous version of Devoid appears at the center of the crater, birthed from the pits of the Under Brooklyn. She is the queen of all demons. She is a black beast crackling with fire, carrying a giant flaming knife made from the bones of slain demons and a demonic flaming skull head. She begins her hunt for Devoid, and when they meet, chaos and carnage ensue.
We've got Shades of Doom.
Yeah.
In my mind, we should have other demonic, horrific monster versions of other characters that are in the scenes show up, but I don't think we've named a lot of characters yet.
Well, we haven't. We've got some characters, but we haven't utilized them yet.
Yeah, I think the Void is the main one we've talked about. That's why I threw her in. But
Well, there's also Carl and Beelzebub, but they only appear as their human selves. And also there's Dennis Full Metal Jackson, but we're probably since there's no Primordial to be suppressed with punk music, there's no point in bringing him in. And there's also Hurricane Steel is also a character, and
well, we could figure out Full Metal because he's kind of like the Nick Fury of the world, right? So I could totally see him kind of leading or helping to lead at some point, but
let's make him part of the team.
Yeah, he could be. Yeah, he could be the leader of the team. Excuse me. So I'm looking at the first event that Andrew came up with. Stanwell somehow foresees the coming of the Primordial. Well, we know it's not the coming of the Primordial. It's basically a disturbance in the Force, right? So I'm gonna just butcher this a little bit. Foresees. I might even say a disturbance in the universe, and I guess begins, right? I think there's a scene in here. Why does Stanwell leave the Gloam device? Finished. Then now we have. I know I got to finish this. It have untested and unreliable because of pink wasp.
Do you want to just remove the Primordial Awakens event?
We have to change it or modify it because I think Zach still wants to keep the actual stuff. Though maybe we do this.
Everything we've written so far can happen without the Primordial being anywhere involved.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Actually, there's no need to mention this at all. Just I'd say
maybe the end of what happens, of everything that happens, is the Primordial Awakening.
Well,
maybe.
Yeah. So I have to. So scenes live inside events. So I can't. If I delete Primordial Awakens, then it deletes all of this. So I have to.
All right.
So I can copy paste those. So what I can do is I can do.
Well, then edit it to say something else other than the Primordial.
The Primordial doesn't awaken. Everything remains normal.
Yeah. Right, something like that.
Yeah. I like how that's dark, a dark event.
Yeah.
Oh, that is scary. I didn't know we were writing horror. I was just having fun with it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I do hear Taylor Swift's, "Welcome to New York" in my head now. Thanks.
I have not heard
None of you have heard that song?
No.
Go to hell, all of you.
I did my best. I did my best to avoid it.
Darn it. Well, I think we can delete how did the Gloam come to be. So I'll delete that because we're really talking.
Wait. Did you just delete?
I deleted just the setup that said how the Gloam came to be.
Okay.
It was just a question. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay. honestly, I think the Gloam, its origins and why it was made has nothing to do with what actually happens with it.
Right.
You know, it's important, and it could lead into another story, or it will lead into another story. But the whole fact is, the whole thing was done in error. It was set off in error and caused all this havoc and upheaval and wonderful things where hipsters get their faces eaten off. But yeah, I think we took the idea and just went in a whole different direction, and Todd needs to rescue us.
No, this the Gloam is set off by accident, and in fact, that'll be I'll make that a light scene.
Okay. Yeah, because if you think about it, if this thing was supposed to protect the city or a city from a catastrophe event happening,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be Brooklyn.
Right.
You know?
Fair enough. All right, I'm gonna call it as my turn. I know I'm lightweight tonight, but brain not working so well tonight. All right, Zach, you're up.
Oy. You're not the only one starting to fade here, buddy.
Yeah.
We got 15 minutes. We can do it. We can do it, old people. We can do it.
Okay, why does Stanwell leave the Gloam unfinished? He then turns it over and leaves the planet. Okay, why does Stanwell leave the Gloam unfinished? Okay, first of all, I'm gonna edit something down here. I have all right. You know, because we say that the Gloam is actually in a casino vault, so we'll get rid of that. So why does Stanwell leave the Gloam unfinished? I'm actually going to finish this scene, actually. Let's see. Why does Stanwell leave the Gloam unfinished? We'll say it is based on technology gleaned from the Roswell crash of 1947. However, it turns out that I want to say Steve Jobs, but I think we could do like a Steve Jobs XP. That Steve Jobs also got his hands. Also, Steve Jobs got the tech, stole the tech first, and used it to create the first iPhone, create the first smartphone, and patented it, and patented the tech as well. When Stanwell began working on the Gloam, he was served with he received a cease and desist letter from not Apple's lawyers, and since he didn't have the stomach, didn't have the patience for a long court fight, anything else. And we'll say that Sandra Wu completed the Gloam in secret using second-rate tech stolen from China. but it never quite worked. This, but could never. She thinks it will work as it's supposed to, but it's really glitchy. All right, let me clean up the typos. Steve Jobs. That's all right. That's Steve Jobs. Yeah, we'll have to use someone else other than Steve Jobs. But I'm starting to fall asleep. So
Not Steve Jobs is pretty funny.
yeah. So that not Steve Jobs stole there from not Apple. A long court fight. On other things. All right. All right. Well, what do you think?
Where is this?
It's near the top, just after. It's a second one after.
Oh, there you go.
Second one down.
Not Steve Jobs. Why does Stanwell leave the Globe device unfinished? It's based on technology gleaned from the Roswell crash of 1947. However, it turns out that not Steve Jobs stole the tech first and used it to create the first smartphone and patented the tech as well. When Stanwell began working on the Globe, he received a cease and desist letter from not Apple's lawyers. And since he didn't have the patience for a long court fight, he moved on to something else. Sandra Wu completed the Globe in secret using second-rate tech stolen from China. She thinks it will work as supposed to, but is really glitchy.
Well, given that China's always stealing from us,
Sure, why not? It's Radio Shack.
Yeah. Oh yeah, actually, better yet, because I think Radio Shack was still around in 2008. So yeah. So how about Sandra Wu using second-rate tech, using parts from Radio Shack and Newegg.
That's really funny.
We've all bought stuff from Newegg. We just don't admit it.
That's pretty funny. Awesome. All right. I guess, Flint, you're up.
Yeah, I'm a little stuck at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking about, why the breakup with Pink Wasp, but it's kind of moot with this, and
Right.
frankly, my idea was kind of obvious anyway. So, I don't really know what to do. The obvious thing was he's always working on this machine, right?
Right.
And that's and so that's why they break up, and then that's why he quits working on it. But
I like it though. I think that makes sense.
yeah, but I like the the cease and desist thing better. I think that's a lot funnier, like maybe we ditch the Pink Wasp thing entirely because this is a lot funnier.
All right.
Possibly. I said
Yeah.
we keep it both in for now. We come back with fresh glasses later.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll write in that scene as an alternative, and then we can just so it's recorded.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah. All right. So, alternative: why did Stamwell leave the Gloam device unfinished? Stamwell has worked on the Gloam device constantly to the point of obsession, and at the expense of his health. Pink Wasp can no longer stand by and watch this happen and leaves. Distraught over the breakup, Stamwell leaves the project and the planet for a while.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah. That's getting it down.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Good stuff, dude. Andrew, you're up to bat.
I'm talking to myself with the mute button on. I want to connect this to what Flint just came up with the, or what Zach came up with the non Steve Jobs using the technology for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And my idea was that cell phones all over Brooklyn and Hyper Brooklyn begin sending out hypnotic pulses, turning anyone using them into mindless zombies hungry for brains. Many zombies see demons as potential food source, only to get devoured by the monsters.
Yeah, I love you, man.
Just another thing to happen. Well, the whole idea is to take someone else's idea and run with it in a different direction, or connect it to something else. And
that's right. Hypnotic pulses. Many zombies see demons as a potential food source, only could devour by the monsters. I assume that's your turn, yes?
Yeah, I'm done. My eyes are killing me. So,
well, we got 6 minutes. All right, so here's I'm gonna take off on Andrew. I'm gonna do something completely different. I'm gonna add Carl must defend his mom, his grandmother, from an onslaught of rampaging zombies
and demons.
We must first escape the bowling alley, and then begins a long trek home. Where she was. Carl must defend his grandmother from an onslaught of rampaging zombies and demons. He must first escape the bowling alley, which is overrun, and then begins the long trek home where his grandmother lives. There you go. I'm spinning off of one of Andrew's things. So what I suggest, it's 10:26, so Eastern time. So what I suggest is, Zach, if you want to take one more shot at and close it off, and we'll call it for the night.
All right, close it off. Jesus, that's a lot. All right. Okay. It causes havoc. There's a great swishing. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna add a scene after the great smushing in the end. How is Ultra Brooklyn access from the outside? Let's see. It is accessed via the old. Wait a minute. It is accessed via. It is accessed via an old brewery in Red Hook. Still, there is a portal is created between real Brooklyn and Hyper Brooklyn. Is look via an old brewery in Red Hook. All right. How is Ultra Brooklyn accessed from the outside? A portal is created between real Brooklyn and Hyper Brooklyn. It is accessed via that General Steel controls. Unfortunately, a large part of his budget goes to bribing the NYC City Council, bribing the mayor of New York, of NYC, turn a blind eye to all the weirdness that happens there. It is accessed via an old brewery in Brooklyn, in Red Hook.
Mm-hmm.
How's that work?
I think that's great.
I mean, now I guess that would explain how Steel is able to get people in and out. Yep. But what I'm thinking also is getting back to the under Brooklyn, that we could say that on the outside that there's another way in. That under Brooklyn is extending its way into the real world, and that let's say that with underneath, say like a heavy metal club in Greenpoint, I forget the name. There's another entrance that Steel doesn't know about, which is controlled by the demons.
Yeah, it's interesting. It almost seems like the first part of the book is like the chase to get Devoid, like to stop her, and then it morphs as chaos ensues with the Gloam and the under Brooklyn. It almost turns into like this chase where they have to stop Devoid, but at the same time they're going to be having to do this while also like taking out like all this demonology crap, like all these zombies and stuff going on. So it's almost like you know how movies like Goonies where they had, or anytime the adventurer goes into the temple and all of a sudden like everything shifts under their feet all the time as the action happens, right? Like they're being chased by the bad guys at the same time the floor is falling out from underneath them, right? It kind of feels like that to me, which is cool. I certainly think there is a semblance of good ideas in here, for sure.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, Andrew, your FYI, your mic is muted, so I don't know if you're saying anything. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. How do we feel? Do you guys feel good?
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think we got something to work with here.
Yeah.
I think we're going down a rabbit hole of demons, and I'm loving it.
yes, Andrew. I figured you would. It makes sense. Natasha says, "Fun times." Awesome. Yeah. So that is the beginning of storytelling and writer's roomness. We will continue this next week. Pick up where we left off. In the meantime, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Always let us know how we do. Let us know if you have any ideas. We're always interested, always about the participation. And of course, after this, please head over to Discord, where we will be discussing this further and playing games in our after party session. We got mini golf, we got a bunch of stuff in there, and it's always a lot of fun. So thank you guys, thank you everybody, and I appreciate you all.